So Despicable Me 3 comes out in a few days, so I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about the first two movies. I was going to do it back when Minions came out a couple years ago, but I never got around to it. Despicable Me was the first movie from Illumination Entertainment, and for their first foray, it's pretty good. And it's really, really hard for me to admit that because I really hate what it started. That being the Minions and Illumination's oversaturated marketing of their movies. Despicable Me is about Gru, a supervillain played by Steve Carell who gives him a Dracula-like accent. And in the beginning of the movie, he's showed up by a younger villain named Vector who steals a pyramid. So Gru wants to steal the moon, but in order to do that, he needs to steal a shrink ray, but then the shrink ray is stolen by Vector, and he needs to get away into Vector's place to steal it. To steal it back again, I guess. He sees these orphan girls go into Vector's house without any problem selling cookies, so that gives him the idea of adopting the girls so that way he can use these robot cookies to go steal the shrink ray back. And it's really the girls that are the heart of the movie, I think. They are there to give Gru some semblance of family and someone that he cares for. At first, he's not very attached to them at all, but then they start growing on him. Another character in the movie, Dr. Nefario, who is Gru's assistant, doesn't think having the girls is a good idea since it's interfering with their plans to steal the moon. And he's played by Russell Brand, which I didn't really recognize him to begin with. And I guess that's because Russell Brand isn't really playing himself in that role, he's actually voice acting. Everything live action that I see Russell Brand in, he's like being Russell Brand, but in this, he's not being that at all. The movie's story is simple and heartwarming, but that's enough to make a lot of money. For Illumination's first film to make over $500 million worldwide is really impressive, which again is probably due to Universal's marketing of the film. It was a new property at the time, but apparently it resonated with people. Now, about the Minions, but before I get into the Minions, I wanted to mention that there's actually an Easter egg that I noticed when I was watching with my friend Saber, that there's an Easter egg of Margot wearing a shirt that has the Lorax on it. And it was funny because Saber said, who do they think they are, Pixar? Like trying to tease their next film by putting an Easter egg in there. I mean, I guess it's fine for animation studios to do that, but it seems like at that point you're just copying what Pixar did. So about the Minions. There's probably the least amount of Minions out of all of the movies that are out so far in this film, but they're not as annoying, I think. I think that's because they speak mostly gibberish rather than this weird bastardized version of Spanish and French. In this film, it actually sounds like they're just saying gibberish. In the more recent films from Minions and from what I can tell from the Despicable Me 3 trailers, they sound a lot more like bastardized Spanish. And I guess they retconned how the Minions were created in the Minions film from 2015, because in the background of this film, you can see plans for the Minions. So you would assume that Gru created the Minions to be his minions, but I guess not, according to the Minions film. And in this first movie, they just start off the tradition of having a dance number at the end of the film. I know DreamWorks was sort of the first to do that, but for Illumination, it just seems like so obvious that they're doing it. Like the transition into the dance number just isn't really that great either. So those are my thoughts on the first Despicable Me movie. It's not terrible, but it's not really great either. It's a really good first attempt, I think. But I really, like I said, I hate what it started. So if you have seen the first Despicable Me, tell me down in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, by now we're getting a bit used to winter. We're like soldiers in the middle of a campaign, growing hardened to discomfort and better able to